What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy days to come and hang out with us and chit-chat, a few movies, television shows, maybe some costumes, maybe a little cosplay. Who knows? We were talking about cosplay yesterday, so just including that in our spiel this morning. As you can see, I went out and I voted early. I was really impressed with how slick the process was. I just, Googled my my local voting habitation. I think that's what I'm going to call it from now on, the voting habitation. So I went to my local voting habitation. The line was like 20 minutes long. The news has been reporting that some of these lines are like up to 2 hours. My girlfriend went to go vote the other day. I think it was on Sunday. And the line was like 2.5 hours, up to 3 hours at some points. But yeah, I stood in line for like 20 minutes, got in. By the time I was out, there was no line. So I highly recommend go out and vote, get your voting done early so you don't have to stand in line for like hours and hours and hours on November 3rd. So go out and do it. Anyway, enough about voting. Because it's all around us. We're not here to talk about voting. We're here to talk about movies. And to help us talk about movies is a very good friend of mine, a fellow improviser. He does musical improv. That's not the only kind of improv that he does. I will let him introduce himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Daniel Tepper. Woo,
Hello.
whoa. Daniel, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Mike, thank you for having me.
No, dude, thank you for being here. Daniel, this is your first appearance on the show. We're, as we've already prefaced, we talk about movies, television, like all sorts of like industry type stuff. What makes you an expert on movies and television shows?
Look, this is going to sound crazy, but I watch them. I love them, and I love stories. I love storytelling. I love doing storytelling in many forms, whether it's acting, writing music, and I cannot wait to talk about all the wonderful stories and industry stories that we're going to be going over today.
Daniel, that sounds crazy. What? But yeah, we're comedians, we're improvisers, we're storytellers. Like, this is what we do. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that I get so personally invested in stories. Like, I think that's why I love like all the comic book stuff and all the superhero stuff, because yes, they're big and exciting, but I also put myself like emotionally in those characters' places. That's why I can't watch horror movies, because I'm so emotionally tied to it. Freaks me out.
Mike, I can't watch horror movies. I get scared. The music, I know if there was no music, I would probably be fine, but I just become so involved in the experience it's giving me.
It's true,
and honestly,
yeah.
I don't understand why people want to feel scared.
No, what? Like, no, thanks. I'm good.
Like, I'm all about feeling the thrill or humor or even sadness, but I don't understand wanting to feel afraid.
No.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is like, what it's like in your improv classes, but in my improv classes, I always teach like, I got this from Chris Griggs. The 4 emotions: happiness, sadness, fear, and anger. And like 3 out of the 4 are negative emotions. We only have 1 positive emotion. So now you have to work harder to have that positive emotion. We all feel anger. We all get upset. We all get, ticked off every now and again. And sometimes we are sad. My father died a couple years ago. That was a tragic, sad event. We all cry. We all have those moments of like, even if it's to the small scale of sadness of just like being left out. Like, oh, somebody had a birthday party and they left me out. Oh, that would have been nice to be invited, But fear is one of those emotions that is so, it's almost reserved for like the right moment. It's not like a regular emotion that we feel all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think we're so able to protect ourselves from fear on a daily basis. We don't typically try and go into completely unknown situations where like we might be afraid of getting hurt or dying or anything like that. And so when you do come up against things where you feel real fear, it's yeah, it's this, oh my God, I'm in this moment
Yeah.
now.
It's a
Yeah.
visceral thing, man. It's a visceral thing. And for anybody watching the show right now, if you're looking at Daniel's screen, if anyone watches this show with any amount of regularity, you know I constantly have this is the bane of this show. This is the bane of the show. Is it my software likes to resize the video of my Skype guests. So sometimes Daniel will be enormous and sometimes he'll be teeny. He'll be like the two different scales of the whales on his back wall right now. One's big, one's tiny.
Yep. One takes up 2 whole panels. One's just a little bit of one panel.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yes.
That's deep.
How many panels should we be taking up? I don't know. I don't know, Mike.
Well, speaking of how many panels we should be taking up, you guys, this is not a very good segue, but I'm going to use it anyway.
It's a perfect segue.
Thank you. You guys, if you have a chance, if you have an opportunity, hop over to youtube.com and type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a little red square that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that button. What clicking on that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. But Mike, you say, I'm watching the show on Facebook Live. Why do I have to go over to YouTube and type in or click on your subscribe button? Well, I will tell you. The more subscribers we get, you guys, the more people that watch the channel. When the more people that watch the channel, I become eligible to qualify for ad revenue. And when I qualify for ad revenue, I get to make this show my full-time job. So I'd really appreciate if you go on over to the YouTube channel, click on that subscribe button. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving from Facebook to YouTube. So just something to be aware of and to get caught up on there. And speaking of getting caught up, now it's time to get all caught up on today's movie news.
What?
All right, you guys, it is time to go over and take a little bit of movie news. And our first little bit of movie news comes to us from Deadline, one of my favorite trades. Here's the thing, you guys. If you're not familiar with like the major trades, sometimes people go off and they see this news article and like Bob's Junket Movie Press Guide or I don't know, whatever, something like that. And they take like fabrications and they, twist like real actual bits of news. So if you want to get like legit movie news, go to Deadline, go to Variety, go to Rolling Stone, go to The Hollywood Reporter, even go to Collider. That's where you're gonna go. That's where you're gonna find the majority of your like factual movie news, stuff that isn't taken out of context, things that aren't like rumor mills or whatever. Just stick to the major trade, you guys. And in this major trade, Deadline is reporting that as of tomorrow, German Chancellor Angela Merkel will be reclosing all of the movie theaters across Germany. And as a result, just like, the domino effect, France is pretty much following suit. France is gonna make their official announcement about it later tonight. And being that it's 4:00 in the afternoon East Coast, that's 9:00 in France right now. So 9? No, it's 10. It's 10 o'clock in France right now. So maybe they've already made their decision, but it sounds like France is gonna shut down their theaters as well. You guys, I think this has some major implications. Not just implications, but this is going to affect the industry on a massive level. Germany was one of the first countries to kind of, after they got their version of the pandemic under control a little bit, Angela Merkel opened things up again, so that, the Germans and, help the rest of Europe kind of follow suit. Once you put your safety protocols in place, right? And get everybody to kind of follow a general sort of, loose guidelines to say, like, follow these guidelines. Wear your mask. I've been saying this forever. Repeat it with me. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance. If you can't... Sorry, what was that, Daniel? Are you gonna say this with me? Here we go.
Sure.
Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Social distance. If you can't social distance, wear your mask. Wash your hands. If you can't wash your hands, Wear your
Wear your
mask.
mask. I will just say if you can't wash your hands, you should try and find a sink somewhere, some sort of just any sink. Yeah, You you need those hands washed. Or come
Yeah.
find me, I'll give you some hand sanitizer.
It's so true. Well, I have like a little spray bottle that I just fill up with
Uh,
alcohol. It's like one of those handheld, like just put it in your pocket. I pull it out. I open the door for somebody. I open the door for myself. Spray, spray. I use the ATM after I'm finished. Spray, spray. Go to the supermarket. I swipe my debit card. Spray, spray. You know, it's a simple thing, but getting back to the whole Germany thing, Angela Merkel is closing. She feels that it's necessary to close down all of the movie theaters again. And here's the thing, Daniel. Worldwide, to date, worldwide, not a single case of COVID-19 or coronavirus has been traced back. Nothing has ever been contact traced back to a movie theater. So this is, granted, a lot of the movie theaters were closed in the beginning of the pandemic. So statistically, well, yeah, nothing's going to be traced back to a movie theater. But even though things have been open, and I guess arguably things are worse now than they were in the beginning, as movie theaters have been open still, with 25% capacity pretty much across the board, there has not been a single case of coronavirus traced back to being contact traced inside of a movie theater. So let me pass the question to you. Do you think Angela Merkel is overreacting a little bit, or do you think she's genuinely acting within the best interest of the people of Germany? Thoughts?
Um, it's a big question.
It's a huge question.
I will say, I was sort of like making a joke before. I'm an expert because I watch these things, but you know, uh, I really do love going to the movies, and something that like we talk about in our house a lot nowadays. Like, wouldn't it be so nice to go to a movie right now? But I think even I did not know that there had been no cases contact traced back to movie theaters, but with cases being on the up and up right now, sort of across the board, as much as I do love going to the movies, and I would wish that we could go. I think if you're a world leader, you have a lot of responsibility to like do everything you can that is in your power to make things as safe as possible for the tons of people that you are responsible for, essentially. And so, I think she's making the right call. I think it's probably what I would do as well if I happened to be a president or prime minister or chancellor, and someone was like, "Do you think that we should have this thing open where people go to sit in an enclosed space for 2.5 hours at a time, 3 hours for something epic, 90 minutes for something less epic?" I think I would do it, even if.
Well, if it's an Avengers Endgame, okay, we'll go ahead and open. But if we're talking about the Invisible Man, maybe we'll just kind of like
Keep it closed. For movies, I love open it up. But I do think it's the right call. I think being cautious is right now, and there's watching Netflix or watching stuff on your laptop. It does not compare.
It doesn't. No.
Just to going to a movie, but I think like it's a sacrifice that has to be made, and I'm an actor. The less movies that are getting made, the less auditions Daniel gets to go to, and so it's like not in my personal interests, but it's I do think it's the right call.
That's a hard thing to judge as well, because when you look at the bigger picture too, if there are reasonably, because I feel like I fall on the other side of the coin maybe just a little bit, if there are reasonable practices that you can put in there, can we keep people safe on a reasonable level and still keep some of these more industry type things going? Real quick, Daniel, do you mind turning your volume down just a little bit? I can hear myself back on reverb. Don't go too. Whatever you did worked fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah. Whatever you did is great.
Cool.
Thank you. But yeah, there's the implications and there's the effect of what this is going to do for the industry as well. You know, if Germany closes down all their movie theaters and then France follows suit and they close down their movie theaters, it's probably not long before the Great Britain is going to close down the movie theaters, and Spain, and, you know, Italy again. And then pretty much before you know it, all of Europe has been shut down in terms of movie theaters. And this is an industry. This is not just, hey guys, let's go watch a movie. You know, it's not just the denying of people an ability to go see a movie. It's denying an entire industry, a global industry, the ability to, you know, keep jobs intact. And, you know, you and I we're storytellers. This is something that we love, as you said. Like, the less movies are being made, the less auditions you get to go on, right? Well, that's true. I don't know, like, it's a hard, you know, it's a hard thing. Where's the line? Because we're not just talking about, oh, Mike and Dan didn't get to go on audition today.
It's way bigger.
It's way bigger. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars. You know, last year alone, Disney raked in their biggest, they had their best year of all time. They raked in $11 billion at the box office. 11. That was unheard of. That will probably, in the next 20 years, never happen again. Very well, I mean, depending on how streaming goes, that may never happen again, period. Avengers Endgame made, you know, the largest sum of money that any movie has ever made, which was $1.78 billion for one movie. $1.78 billion. It's very possible, depending on how streaming goes, depending on how COVID changes our viewing habits, that may never be broken. That record may never be broken in the history of film and television ever again. So, I mean, it's if we close the movie theaters, I mean, are movie theaters in the United States going to close? I don't know. Like, how do you see the future of this playing out?
You know, I've never thought about this in this way before, but, you know, I hope this doesn't happen, but it sort of feels reminiscent of, like, when music went from physical sales to really relying on streaming, and it, like, changed the game for music. You know, like, album sales from, like, 2000, you know, pop stars will never be matched by what pop stars are selling today. And I hope that doesn't become the case. I do think that the act of, like, making and going to see movies, I hope that it is so sort of embedded in our societal framework that it will reemerge as a healthy industry. And I'm happy to be optimistic about this. And so I think that it will bounce back and really do a lot of funds into it, do profit from it, will want to profit from it in that big way still. So I hope that this is just only for now. And that we will find ourselves in theaters.
Well, you know, Daniel, I tend to agree with you. Is there? You know, we are, as the human race, we are a resilient bunch, and we are the kind of people that will want to go back and not just go back to the theater, but we are communal creatures. We are the type of people, or the type of animals, that need social interaction to function and to exist and to survive. And without that social function, everything kind of falls apart. So yeah, to your point, I wholeheartedly believe that we will return to the movie theaters. There's just no replacing the theatrical experience. And maybe that may, sadly, and I hate to admit this, but there's a very real possibility that the movie theater going experience that we currently know may completely collapse, and we'll have to rebuild it from scratch. That may happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but it may happen. Anyway, question is for you guys. What do you think the implications of Germany and, German Chancellor Angela Merkel shutting down movie theaters across Germany tomorrow? What impact do you think that is going to have on the industry? Do you think it's going to hurt it immensely, or do you think it's just kind of going to be like a little bump on the road and we'll eventually move past it and move back to go back to movie watching on the big screen? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, let's move on to our second bit of movie news today, and this bit of movie news brings me so much delight, you guys. Again, Deadline is reporting Tiny Toons is coming back, you guys. Tiny Toon Adventures. You know, they're tiny, they're toony, they're all a little bit loony, little cartoony, invading your TV. Oh man, Daniel, I'm like, I think I've already kind of expressed my excitement here. The basic idea, the main story. A few months ago, it was being reported that Animaniacs was coming back. They were doing an Animaniacs reboot, and in fact, 2 weeks ago, Animaniacs just dropped a brand new trailer on Hulu, or like for Hulu. It's coming out on Hulu in November next month. They're going to start streaming brand new episodes of Animaniacs, and now, hot off the heels of Animaniacs, it hasn't even come out yet. They've already announced Steven Spielberg is going to executive produce a brand new Tiny Toon Adventures series on HBO Max, mind you, and it's already been, 2 seasons have already been ordered. 2 seasons for Tiny Toon, not Adventures, but Tiny Toons, what's it called? Looniversity. Let's go back up here. Tiny Toons Looniversity will follow the adventures of Babs and Buster Bunny going to college, as well as all of their friends. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Daniel, what are your initial thoughts?
My initial thought is like, what's going to be going on at college with these cartoons? Are they going to be like going to a frat party? Are they going to be eating in the dining hall? I'm wondering what is the mapping of Looney Tunes onto college that we are going to see? But I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And, I remember when HBO picked up Sesame Street, right? I'm not a crazy person.
No. HBO picked up Sesame Street. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, like, do they watch HBO? Because I remember when I was a kid, HBO was like, oh my God, can I watch HBO?
Yeah, that's where you went for like the late night. Let's see if I can see through like all the fuzzy lines and see all the naughty pictures. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like, I get now HBO has become, such a large streaming service that I think it's, I love that they have children's programming on it, and I think it's wonderful.
Oh, I think this is going to be so good on so many levels. Like all of the not all the classic cartoons, but like some of the cartoons that you and I grew up with are now having this incredible resurgence. And it's not just, hey, let's, bring this thing back just for the sake of bringing this back. I don't think that serves a very good purpose. But if that particular IP, A, has a reason for coming back, and B, what are you going to use it to say? Like, what's going to be your new message? And with the trailer that they dropped for the Animaniacs, I feel like it's very timely. This is a weird world that we now live in. We're not going to get into politics, but, depending on wherever you land on a political spectrum, I think it's pretty fair to say that the country that we live in terms of the United States, or even the world really for that matter, we didn't really understand the world that we were living in for the most part. And I think it's brought a lot of things to light, no matter what side of the political spectrum you land on. And I think with Animaniacs, they're able to kind of reach people in a way and say something. Because if you look at the original Animaniacs, it was very educational. It was an extremely educational show. It was silly. It was wacky. It was zany. That was the appeal. Come for the wacky and the zany, but stay for the educational portion, because they made education fun and interesting and kind of addictive in that regard. Now the Tiny Toons are, they're going to college and Looniversity, I guess. I assume was his name Quacky? What was the duck's name?
Oh God, Quacky sounds
Uh
right to me, but I'm not sure.
oh
Should I
man.
Google it? Is that illegal?
No, please go for it. But I remember Plucky Duck.
Okay. Yeah.
Plucky Duck, and then Hampton the pig. Like these were all the characters, and they as children they had their things that they went after and did. But I feel like this is gonna be kind of a cool thing to see them a little bit more grown up, and like you talked about, like what's the campus gonna look like how are classes gonna run. I don't know. I'm kind of jazzed for it in a way that I'm not jazzed about Saved by the Bell. Further thoughts?
I'm less jazzed about Saved by the Bell, but I think, I think Saved by the Bell was like right before, just right before me coming into like watching teens in comedies and dramas. So I don't have a huge
Right.
affinity for Saved by the Bell, and I wouldn't be like, we got to reboot STV, guys. Okay.
Well, they are rebooting it, right?
Right?
Because
Yeah.
again, yeah. Oh man, did you see that trailer the other day?
I have not. No.
Eh.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the next trailer, the announcement trailer. Meh.
I mean, they've already been saved. The Bell's done its saving.
It's true. The dog did not eat their homework.
There you go.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. How excited are you for Tiny Toons Looniversity? Is this something that you are drastically looking forward to like the rest of us? Or are you just kind of like, meh? Where do you fall on the Tiny Toons Looniversity spectrum? Are you yeah or are you meh? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, our third bit of movie news today comes to us from Collider, and this is something that like news is just kind of like breaking day after day after day about Moon Knight. The other day we talked about Oscar Isaac was just cast in the titular role of Moon Knight, Mark Spector. And one of the interesting things about Moon Knight is that he was or is rather, a kind of an archaeologist, kind of an Indiana Jones type, right? But when investigating this one kind of like tomb in the middle of Egypt, that's when he was kind of imbued with I think the Egyptian god's name was Khonshu. Somebody can fact check me on that if you so choose. But it's now today just being reported that quote, acclaimed filmmaker Mohammed Daib, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly, Daib, was just announced as the new director for the Disney Plus series Moon Knight. Here in the article, we can actually scroll down, and I'm gonna give just so you can understand kind of like how cool this is. Please bear with me. I'm going to read through this whole article, not the entire article, just this paragraph. Daib, an Egyptian filmmaker, made his directorial debut with Cairo 678, a drama about a state-sanctioned, gender-oriented sexual violence in Egypt. First of all, whoa. Holy cannoli. The article goes on to say, it was released just 1 month after the Egyptian Revolution, and many reported on the film being instrumental in the cultural shift that led this revolution. From there, Daib went on to direct the film Clash, a Cannes Film Festival entry about various factions. Regarding the 2012-2013 mass-scale Egyptian protests. Daib has also written the Island franchise films. A series of action thrillers are amongst the highest grossing Egyptian and Arabic language films of all time. So that's kind of a major accomplishment. His next film, Amira, is scheduled to be released, blah, 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 blah. So he's got all this stuff coming up. You guys, when you look at his filmography and some of the stuff that he was able to do and produce and come out with, this ain't no like, man, we'll just get some schlub off the street to direct this thing. This is a filmmaker who has created and helped sustain major cultural shifts in Egyptian culture. That ain't no small feat, you guys. That ain't no small feat. So getting like an acclaimed director in Mohammed Daib, to direct the series and have a clear vision. First of all, my knee-jerk reaction is, what kind of series is this going to be? Like, is this going to be like a political thriller? Because if so, yes, please, starring Oscar Isaac and like playing Mark Spector, Moon Knight, who is he has multiple personality disorder. He has all of these different identities that he associates with. In more recent comics, brought on by the Egyptian god Khonshu, like that. What? Like, what in the world is this going to be? Daniel, you may be hearing about this for the first time. You may not. What are your knee-jerk reactions, and what in the world? Like, how is Marvel going to allow Daib to do his thing, or is Daib going to allow Marvel to kind of like move him in their direction? What do you think?
Look, Mike, this is not the first time I'm hearing about this. This is the second time, the first time being 10 minutes before the show when we talked about it. But
Woo-woo!
What I will say is my knee-jerk reaction is that I think he's going to be given the rope to do what I like to do, but I couldn't necessarily speculate about. I think this is a great move, especially what you mentioning everything in his background. I love when people that I might not expect to do a superhero franchise are like doing a franchise, and you're like, oh my god! And then you get to see. Usually, when we were talking about, you get to put yourself, in someone's shoes for storytelling. You get great storytelling, and it's usually very unique and has a unique voice, while still having all of the tropes and all the story points that make it a great story. So I think it's a great move, and I think if Marvel is smart, they're probably hiring him to do what he does and not to do what they want him to do. But also, corporate overlords do what corporate overlords do, so you never know.
I mean, that's a fair point. Corporate overlords do what corporate overlords do. You're right in that assessment. But I think Marvel and specifically Kevin Feige has established this pattern of getting filmmakers, smaller filmmakers, and then like boosting them up and seeing what they can do. Very famously, they did that with the Avengers directors, the Russos. Here's these guys who directed comedy pilots and television shows in Arrested Development and Community. And then now they went on to direct the highest grossing film of all time. Hang on, what? So that's really cool. Same thing with, Ant-Man director. Originally they were going to get, why can't I think of his name? This is going to kill me. English filmmaker. He worked with, Shaun of the Dead guys. I can't think of his name. He did Baby Driver. Everybody who's watching this right now is like screaming at.
They're all knowing, and they're all being like, "Those Dumbos."
Oh man, Edgar Wright. Thank you. So Edgar Wright originally came on to write and direct Ant-Man. They had creative differences. It seemed, and I feel like Edgar Wright's story was the turning point for Marvel and specifically Kevin Feige, because Edgar Wright wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie, but Marvel didn't want to make an Edgar Wright movie. Edgar Wright didn't want to make a Marvel movie. He wanted to make his own movie. And I think that's what a lot of fans wanted to see. I think a lot of fans wanted to see, what does an Edgar Wright MCU film look like? And we kind of got denied that. And I think that was a bit of a turning point where, in that regard, after that all went down, I kind of feel like some of the filmmakers were given more leeway to do what they wanted to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have Taika Waititi did Thor Ragnarok, right? And that was just like, I mean, that movie was so good. It's so funny. I think such a good example of like, and now he's,
exactly
a mega guy, but like at the time he was like a comedy guy, and then gets this huge platform, and it's like,
well, also the same thing with Scott Derrickson and Doctor Strange. Here's this classic horror movie director coming in to do an MCU film. Hang on, whoa, what? And it turned like it wasn't a horror movie per se. It had a couple of like, oh, that's mind bendy elements in it, right? And now we have Sam Raimi coming into the MCU to do Doctor Strange 2. Again, another classic horror movie director who had great success in the Spider-Man series. Yeah, I don't know, Daniel. I see this as like, I side with you and say like I think Kevin Feige is just going to let him do what he does best, and I think that's going to be. There's no downside to this. There's no downside to infusing more people with different backgrounds and different voices. I feel like I'm a huge proponent in getting more female voices out there, getting more Egyptian voices out there, getting more black voices out there, getting more, Indian voices out. Like whatever package they come in, we can only benefit from diversity. Do you see it any other way?
No, I mean, spot on all around. I think this is only a good thing.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of Mohammed Daib coming in to direct the Moon Knight series? Is there a particular film of yours that spoke to you? Is there something that we're overlooking maybe? Is this not going to be the right fit for Mohammed Daib? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our fourth bit of movie news for the day. And this is a weird one. This is a little strange. It's not going to be entirely out of the blue, but it appears Adam Sandler is returning to do another Netflix movie. I know, everyone's like, oh, gross, Hubie Halloween, boo. But hear me out. They're getting the director from HBO's Chernobyl. Interesting. If you've seen Chernobyl, it is a heavy dramatic. Yeah. I mean, just a dramatic drama. I guess it's a heavy drama about the events in Chernobyl in Russia in what the mid '80s, and kind of like how the meltdown of the nuclear power plants happened and how the government allowed it to happen without putting proper sanctions on everything around like nuclear power and all that. Some people didn't follow protocol, and then there was a massive meltdown and plenty of people died. And it was a huge thing. There were like 4 big things that happened in the 80s globally, and that was one of them. The Challenger explosion was huge, the tearing down of the Berlin Wall, and also probably Reagan being elected president. Those were like the big things that happened in the 80s, right? And so now we're getting the director of Chernobyl, of the series of Chernobyl, to come direct Adam Sandler in a sci-fi thriller. This particular article is coming from Collider, and again, I'm gonna scroll down here a little bit. Just listen to the description of this. Oh shoot, I had it. Hold on. Okay, so here's essentially what this movie is about. Based on Jaroslav Kalfar, the novel by Jaroslav Kalfar, The Space Man of Bohemia. The as of yet untitled film adaptation will star Adam Sandler as an astronaut sent on a space mission to collect ancient dust on the edge of the galaxy. While there, a mysterious space voice speaks to him and offers him solutions to his increasingly volatile Earth life. But what happens when he discovers this voice belongs to an ancient creature hiding within his ship? The unique sounding film will be directed by Johan Renck, who won 2 Emmys for his work on Chernobyl, and written for the screen by Colby Day, an acclaimed short filmmaker, produced by Rennick himself, and and Channing Tatum is attached to this as well. Yada 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 yada. This sounds, first of all, this sounds right up Adam Sandler's alley. Oh, I'm going to space. I'm going to collect some space dust, and I'm going to hear a strange voice that lives inside of my spaceship, and yada, yada, yada. First of all, that sounds like very hokey and very silly and right up Adam Sandler's wheelhouse, right? The other side to this is the Chernobyl director being attached to it, and it seems like he's going to add like not just him, but also Channing Tatum. First of all, is attached to this, and second of all, what did the article say? Not just Rennick, but Colby Day, who is an Emmy award, an acclaimed short filmmaker. So here's Johan Rennick, who's won 2 Emmys for his work on Chernobyl, and he's going to add this gravitas and this weight to what looks like a fairly dramatic role for Adam Sandler. I know a lot of people love Sandman in dramatic roles. We saw him in Punch Drunk Love. We saw him in Uncut Gems, which is one of the most unnerving movies I've ever seen in my life. This just sounds weird, but like I'm not sure if it's a cool way. I'm not sure what to make of this. Daniel, what are your knee-jerk thoughts here?
I'm in. I am in. I love watch. Look, I'm not going to go ahead and say every movie the Sandman puts out is a 10.
No, definitely
but
not.
I do love watching Adam Sandler act when he is actually acting, and I think he crushes when he's allows himself to be in that position. So when I was looking at this particular piece of news yesterday, and I was like, I think this is gonna look less like a hokey Adam Sandler movie, I believe, and probably is gonna look and like what we sort of expect from him on Netflix for those Netflix outputs. He's like puts out 7 in a year, and you're like, okay. And I think it will look a little more like the type of sci-fi thing that would be enjoyable if he was not attached to it as well. But I think he'll do. I think he'll do great. And I'm in. I'm in for it.
Like, I am so intrigued by this because it's such a weird premise. Like, the premise itself is not the weird thing, because if you just heard, Adam Sandler is going to do an outer space sci-fi where he goes to the edge of the galaxy to get some space dust, and then he learns things about humanity, you'd kind of be like, oh, well, it's one of those hokey Happy Madison projects, right? But with the gravitas, the Chernobyl,
it's sort of like an Interstellar vibe is sort of where
Well, I know this article was comparing it a little bit to both Interstellar and what was this? Gravity with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah,
it's very possible that this could have it's Adam Sandler. So even in Uncut Gems, he still played that character, just a little bit. So he's still going to do a little bit of but I don't know. I think this could be really cool. This could be a complete ball of horribleness, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see until it comes out. Question is for you guys. What do you how do you react to this news of Adam Sandler doing a sci-fi drama with Chernobyl director Johan? I'm totally getting his name wrong. The Chernobyl director, that guy. What do you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, our last bit of movie news today is coming to us from Variety, and this is, once again, this film is back in the news. James Bond's No Time to Die. So, okay, if this is the first you're hearing of this, the title of the article is a little misleading. The title of the article says James Bond film No Time to Die explored $600 million sale to streaming services. That's a little misleading. That's not exactly what happened. So as we all know, there's a pandemic raging right now, right? We all have to stay inside. We all have to watch our Netflix. We all have to watch our Apple TV Plus. We all have to watch our HBO Max. We all have to watch our Hulu. We all have to watch our Amazon Prime. We all have to watch our Disney Plus. What other streaming services am I leaving out? There's a lot, right? There's a ton. So with this particular title, it appears that both Netflix and Apple TV Plus approached MGM and said, "Hey, you guys, we hear you got a new James Bond movie coming out. What's the word to you? You want to sell us your new James Bond movie?" So they went up just like that, with a cigarette and their Italian mobsters all behind them, right? That's exactly what they did. And MGM was like, okay, the movie's not for sale. However, if you do want to buy it, let's just pick an arbitrary number. How about $600 million? The bidding starts at $600 million. If you're serious about acquiring James Bond's No Time to Die, let's start talking at $600 million. Let's see if you're actually serious about this. Because, Daniel, this is a potential, not a guaranteed, this is a potential billion-dollar film at the box office. If COVID was not an issue, there's a very real chance this film could make $1 billion at the box office. Based on the trailers, in my personal assessment, probably not. I mean, if Billie Eilish has anything to say about this, it's barely going to break 100 million. My opinion, of course. As we all know, I hate Billie Eilish. I hate the theme song. I hate everything about it. I'm looking forward to the movie just because it's James Bond, but I don't have high hopes for this movie. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. First of all, do you think it's smart of MGM to say, okay, the film's not for sale, but if you want to talk turkey, let's start at 600 million. Do you think that was a good call for them to make? And if so, do you think that they can break $600 million? Do you think that they can make more come April 2021, next year when this film is released? True. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Let's pontificate here for a second. I want to use Tenet as a case study. Tenet was like the big tentpole film that we were all looking to, produced by Warner Brothers. We're looking at Tenet just because it's pretty much the only big major blockbuster in theaters. Nobody else has really followed suit. Yeah, New Mutants came out. Yeah, there was Unhinged with Russell Crowe. There was that Robert De Niro movie that was like The War with Grandpa or something like that. But Tenet was like the big movie, right? To date, Tenet has only made $350 million to date worldwide. So not terrible, but also consider it has zero competition. And theaters are being limited to 25% capacity. And of that, very few people are in the movie theaters at all, period, around the world. So let's take $350 million is what it made currently. In a non-COVID world, there's a very real possibility that Tenet could have made easily $800 million. Very real possibility. The production budget of No Time to Die was $250 million. Astronomical. That was the same production budget of Avengers Endgame. Same production budget. So just to break even, first of all, okay, so you have your production budget of 250 million. Then you have to double that for advertising, because if you spend a lot of coin and nobody knows about it, whatever, right? So now you have to double your budget to market the movie. So now we're at $500 million. And then you have to pay your movie theaters approximately 1.5%. Approximately, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Every movie gets negotiated differently per theater company, right? Or per exhibitor. So, but approximately it's about 1.5. So if we're at $500 million, now the movie needs to make, what are we at? Math is escaping me. $650 million. So you need $650 million just to break even. And we haven't even started getting into the interest that the banks need to collect, for the loans, to make the movie. So we'll leave the loans out of it, or the interest from the loans rather. But they need a minimum of $650 million just to break even. Tenet made half that, close, half that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at. Oh, sorry. Somebody's saying check the audio. Can hear Dan, can't hear me. I don't know. Hang on one second, you guys. Let me check my audio settings real quick. Right in the middle of the show. It seems everything's working from my end. Yeah, everything seems to be working fine. Let me check it on this playback. Sorry, guys. Hang on one second.
If you can't hear Mike, let us know. More people need to let us know.
Yeah, I just checked the playback on Facebook and I can hear myself. So, David, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to continue on. So here we are. $650 million James Bond needs to break even. Tenet's only made half that, practically-ish, kind of, sort of. In April 2021, of course, a lot of this is dependent on a vaccine. If we can get a vaccine out in time in the near future, do you think people are going to start returning to the theaters in droves? And do you think that it is within Bond's best interest to pass? It's not like they passed on this. They didn't pass on it. They were the ones that said $600 million. So if they did strike a deal, it would be considerably less. Maybe 300, which would be a surefire loss of profit. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Will people return in droves? But I think lots of people, I'm going to be very delicate about how I'm going to try and phrase this. There seem to be lots of people who are already being very cavalier about our current situation.
That's not delicate. I think that's very straightforward. That's very fair to say.
Fair.
Yes.
That when there is a vaccine and an even more fortified sense of safety, that even more people will feel that they are able to. And that is actually just the truth and the way it is, that when there is a vaccine and it is widely available and we reach that critical mass of people who have it, that we can start getting out there. I do have to be more of a
So, do you think that there's more of a chance that they delayed the film even further? It's possible. It's possible.
theaters and sold.
I mean, Mulan lost a ton of money doing that. Like, that was the wrong marketing pitch. First of all, nobody knew that it was going to Disney Plus, and then once they found out, what do you mean I have to? Like, I already pay for the streaming service. Now I have to pay even more. I don't know. I mean, premium
Yeah.
VOD is on the table, but when you have a movie with a production budget of $250 million, there's no way that they can recoup those losses. There's no way. And
That is so much money.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like I don't see another film being made on that same budget again in the next 10 years.
It's gonna be a while.
It's going to be a long while. If at all. And a lot depends on streaming. Like, what is going to be the future of streaming? Who knows? Anyway, guys, big question is for you is, what do you think is going to happen with James Bond No Time to Die? Do you think that they should have, considered this deal from with either Netflix or Apple TV Plus a little bit more than they did? Or do you think that it was smart of them to pass and just wait and bide their time and wait for people to come back to the theaters? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, that does it for our main portion of the show. Now we're just going to jump in and take some of your live questions. A few of you have been typing in questions and comments throughout the show, so we're just going to take those right now.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You have been firing in some live questions and comments all show long. And first of all, we're just going to start it off. Oh, I should probably get Daniel up on screen, shouldn't I? There you go.
Okay,
there
thank
you go. Now we can all see you. So Dale McCrae. Dale, how are you, sir? It has been so long since we've chit-chatted. Dale says, love your show, buddy. Well, Dale, thank you so much. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate it. I'm just going to go ahead and applaud you, sir. You are an absolute scholar and a genius and such a gentleman. So thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to hear feedback that, the stuff that you're doing, the things that you like doing are also enjoyed by other people as well. Daniel, you're a musical improviser. You've been improvising on the team Vern for quite a while. Not just Vern, but other teams as well, and not just musical improv. You've found yourself in situations where people offer you accolades as well. What is the most redeeming part of that? And how do you deal with stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime someone takes the time to reach out and say that they admire what you're doing is really, really meaningful. Because especially when you're working in a digital sphere and you're releasing content online, it can really often feel like you are in the void, because you're not getting that, the laughter, the direct feedback from the audience, whether something or not is working.
Yeah.
And so when someone does take the time to say that they are enjoying what you're doing, it's really important to, like, of course, the other side is important too. If someone takes the time to let you
yeah.
the opposite, but it is I think I would encourage people to, if they have friends making stuff and putting it out, and you do like it, don't just watch it. Watching it is good, but reach out, say that you appreciate the time that they took to do it. It's going to brighten that person's day and keep them moving forward hugely.
It means a lot. Indeed, it does. It means a lot. So, Dale, thank you so much for that. Moving on with Hannah Castillo. Hannah, Hannah, like all of my flight attendant friends are jumping out of the woodwork today. Hannah Castillo says, was wondering about that. LOL. I believe I think you sent that in as we were talking about Angela Merkel and closing down the theaters in Germany, and the ripple effect that has. You were wondering about that. Yeah, I think we're all kind of wondering about that. How is this going to affect the industry? How is that going to affect, filmmaking? As we kind of said, we briefly mentioned when we were talking about James Bond, I really don't think that we're going to see future films being made on this grand scale with a grand budget the way we have. Avengers Endgame was $250 million to make. James Bond, No Time to Die was $250. That's cheap. $250 million to make. These are not cheap movies. Avatar 2, like Lord of the Rings was no cheap feat. Are we going to see movies on this scale ever again? Um, I don't know. It depends on. First of all, it depends on the vaccine, right? It depends on if we can get people feeling safe to come back to the movie theaters, and if people just don't feel safe coming back to the movie theaters in an enclosed space where, they've improved the air quality. Last week, I was down in Florida, and so admittedly, I went back to the theaters. It was one of the most pleasant experiences of my life. I'm going to put out an editorial about this next week, but yeah, I felt completely safe. I loved it. It was a wonderful experience. I felt safe. I felt clean. I felt like people were doing what they needed to be doing. But my experience is not everyone's experience. I can't speak for everyone. Like, there are some people, former guests who have been on the show, do not feel safe going back to the theaters. Daniel, do you feel safe going back to the theaters? And if not, what are some things that, some protocols that you want to see put in place?
I don't personally feel safe going back to a theater at this point. In terms of protocols, I'm not really sure. I wish I knew more about what we could do to keep people safe in enclosed spaces. But yeah, at least for me at this point, I just, I would not, I know that I get like verklempt, if you will. So I'm like sort of like jittery.
Ooh,
and so
I certainly do.
Yeah, so like comedians 101. So I know I would be putting myself in a position where I would be like, am I really enjoying this movie right now, or am I sort of like watching myself?
Yeah.
The whole time. So it's a toughie. But I'm glad to hear you had a good experience. That is actually an inspiration for me.
I did. And, one of the things that the theaters are doing, specifically AMC, and, like the big name, Regal is shut down for now, for the time being. But, one of the things that AMC is doing is they've replaced all of their air filters with, microbial, bacterial, virus catching air filters. So the air that you're breathing is cleaner than it ever used to be, first and foremost. I mean, if the air cleanliness was at 2% previously, which is not very good, and now it's at 5%, you can say that's a drastic improvement. That's over 150% improvement on the thing. But still, the air quality is not very good. I personally am inclined to believe that the air quality in the movie theaters is actually quite good. I believe that they've replaced the filters and they whatever, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. Second of all, they wipe all the seats down. And when I was in the theaters, they had their spray bottle, they had the rags, and they're just wiping everything down. Third, and this is the same thing that we do on the airplanes, is they have an electrostatic sprayer, which sprays kind of like a misty fog. It's more of a fog that they just spray everything down. After everything's been wiped down, they fog everything down, and it's this chemical that kills all kinds of germs and bacteria and viruses and whatever happens to be lingering in a place that they didn't get to. Not only that, I mean, the contactless payments, and people are being very good. We went to the concession stand, and I'm one of those people. I told you that I have a little spray bottle of alcohol, keep it in my pocket, and it's just pure alcohol. Spray, spray, spray. I touch the ATM, spray, spray, spray. I open the door, spray, spray, spray. And there was this one moment where, was it the concession stand, the woman that was taking our order, we ordered something, and I think it was maybe a pack of Reese's Pieces or something. So she hands me the Reese's Pieces. I look at it, and I'm like, oh, is it possible to exchange this for a different candy? And she was like, good, but you've already touched it. And I'm like, you know what? I respect that. I'm going to keep the Reese's Pieces. And it was I appreciate stuff like that. So I had a great experience, and, I'm going to go more into detail about this later, but I can't speak for everyone's experience. Not everyone's experience was mine. So
yeah, I get that.
All of that is to say, Hannah, who knows what the effect on this is going to be. Let's go down. David James Bachler says, check your audio, man. So we kind of addressed this earlier. He couldn't hear me. I think that's all been fixed. I sound fine. To myself, Tim Mahoney, it looks like our last comment of the day. Tim Mahoney says, step into the fog and leave the theater with an extra thumb. What?
You know what though? I'm getting a very filmic vision from this of like you go to the movie
Ooh.
theater, everything is wiped down, and then afterwards everything gets fogged, and you walk out of the fog. I don't know where this extra thumb comes in, okay, but I'm loving the vision that was just painted.
Step into the fog and leave the theater with an extra thumb.
Oh, hey guys.
Tim, I'm not entirely sure I understand what you're saying, but I love the sentiment. Or rather, I love Daniel's interpretation of the sentiment. Cool. Anyway, guys, that does it for today's episode of Gotta Love Them Movies. Thank you all so much for commenting and being part of the conversation. Thanks for sticking around and, just dropping your thoughts and hearing what we had to say about it. Daniel, if I can kick it back to you for a second, sir. Tell us what future projects you have coming up and where can people find you online?
Yes, you can find me online on Instagram and at Twitter at Tepper. And I'm working on a musical improv show right now that we've been workshopping on Facebook Live called Making It Up with me, my beautiful wife, Katie, and a friend of ours named Gary Adler, who's a wonderful composer. And that has been very exciting. And other than that, I'm just still writing a lot of funny songs and staying creative like the rest of us.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for, giving me alternate perspectives and opinions and, things to, bounce our stuff off of. You guys, that does it for us. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Angela Merkel would want you to do. All right, guys, this is Gotta Love Them Movies. My name is Mike Brown. This is your daily dose of movie news. You guys, we live in a weird world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash with one another. So do me a favor, if you have an opportunity to perform a random act of kindness, please take that opportunity. And also, please speak kind words to each other, because nobody wants to be fought and draught and hot. Haute, with, unkind words. So just go ahead and speak kind words to each other. It just makes everybody's day a little bit brighter. Anyway, guys, like I said, where did I go? What did I click on? Oh, sorry about that. Like I said, my name is Mike Brown. This is Gotta Love Them Movies. I will see you all bright and early in the afternoon tomorrow.